Hey, what's up guys? My name is Gabe and this is Games with Gabe. In this tutorial we're going to be going over if statements, which are another part of the programming language, and this is the next part in the series of the absolute beginners to programming for Python. So in this one we're actually going to create a programming file because this will be easier to organize our code. So inside of this idle, which you can get just by typing in down here idle and then hitting enter, and it will start up a new one. If you hit Control N, this opens up a new file that's blank. Control S will save that file. And then we'll go to documents or downloads or wherever you want to save it. I'm just going to call this temp for temporary. And then inside of here, you can write in your code, but you can do several lines. So you can say equals B, A equals 5, B equals 4, and then A plus B. And then if I hit F5, this will actually run this program. And as you can see, it does nothing because we're not printing this. So if we say print A plus B, and then we save that and hit F5, you see that it does 9. And so this will just run a bunch of lines of code and then print out the result inside of here. Okay, so this is what we're going to use to write our first if statements. Now remember in the last tutorial, I talked about the Boolean values, the true and the false. You might be wondering why those would be useful. And this is useful in case you want to choose where a specific section of code is going to go. So like say you have a website and you're trying to check whether somebody's older than a certain age, or whether they are, like Facebook or something, see if they're older than 18. Then you could say like age equals, and then we'll say like 10. And then we could say if their age is greater than 18, colon, and then we'll just say print do something here. Otherwise, else, colon, print, do something different. And so what this is doing is age is greater than 18. As we know, if we do a relational operator over here, gives a true or a false. And so what this is going to do is it's going to say if this statement is true, we're going to execute this. Otherwise, we're going to execute whatever's in here. And just remember the indentation is really important. So if you have something inside of the if statement, you want it all to be indented by one space. So like these are all on the same line, and then anything outside of it, if we do it over here, is going to be for the next block, which just means it's not a part of that if statement, which is why when we have else, it's on the first line because it's not part of this block, it's part of the next part. Okay. And so basically what this is going to do is it's going to check if age, which is 10, is greater than 18, and it's going to print this if it is. Otherwise, it will print this. If we hit F5, then we'll see it says do something different. So what happened? It skipped this entirely. So this is something neat. We can use this to determine which line of code we want to execute, which lines. You can do multiple lines in here. We can say print something else here. And then if we make age 19, then it's going to print both of these. So it'll execute as many lines as you put inside of here. Otherwise, it will do whatever's down here. And then say you want to continue your program down here, you could say print continue down here. Regardless of which one of these is executed, it will continue down to here and keep going. So if we hit F5, it says continue down here. If we make age 10 again, it still goes down there. So we can use this to just determine which lines of code we're going to be executing next. So this is basically a way to determine whether the program goes through here or goes through here. And this is what we call a selection structure. So this selects which lines of code we're going to be executing. So then let's do something a little bit more interesting. So let's let the user tell us our age. So the age equals, and then you can type in input, and then you can say, how old are you? Question mark. Syntax is important here. Syntax is just what you type, and you need to type input all lowercase, left parenthesis, quotation, whatever you want the message to be, right quotation. And then this will store age in whatever the user types in into age. So then if we print age, it should print out what their age is. So like say it says, how old are you when we run this? And then if I type in 10, it's going to store 10 in age, and we can print it out here. Now, remember what I told you about the different types of variables. This age is not going to be an integer. What it's actually going to be is something different. If we type in print type of age, This is built into Python. It'll tell us what type age is. So if we run this one more time, we type in 10, it says class str, which means it's a string. So Python is actually making this a string, and it's not an integer, which is bad because we can't do a number comparison on a string. We need it to be a number. Well, how do we do that? Well, Python provides us with one more thing. If we type in int, open parenthesis, and then we close the parenthesis around this whole input, it's going to convert whatever's inside into an integer. So if we wanted to do this more explicitly, we could say age equals input, and then age equals integer age. And what this is going to do is it's going to convert age, which is inside of here, to an integer, which is a number, and then assign it back to age. So then when we print the type of age, it should say integer. So if we type in 10, we notice that it says class int, which means integer. Cool, so now we can do a number comparison. So let's say if age is greater than or equal to 18, colon, then print older than 18. Otherwise, else, going back one space, print younger than 18. Okay, and we'll actually say older than or equal to 18. Save that, hit F5. It's going to say how old are you, and then if we hit 10, it's going to say younger than 18. If we type in 18, it will say older than or equal to 18. So using this fundamental block of if statements, we can actually create some useful programs that do some more interesting stuff. And so I encourage you to play around with this and see if you can get some other things to do some other things. So like say you want to just ask some questions, you can check what the user enters. What if you want to check multiple things though? If you don't want to just check if it's greater than or equal to 18, what if we want to see if they're between 10 and 18, younger than 10, or older than 18? Well, we can say if age is greater than or equal to 10 and age is less than or equal to 18. And so Python is really great. You can just literally type in the word and what it's going to do is it's going to check and see if this is true and this is true. And if it is, then it'll return true. If either one of them is false, it will say false. Then what we can do is we can go down here, we can say if, which means else if, and then we're actually going to say age is greater than 18. Then we'll print older than 18. Else, the only other case is they're less than 10. So we'll say less than 10. And then we'll change this to just older than 18. So now if we hit F5 and we type in 12, we get older than 18. This should say between 10 and 18. 10 and 18. There we go. So we'll hit that again. We hit 12. It says between 10 and 18. And then if we give it an age of, we'll hit F5 one more time, 19, older than 18. And if we say 8, it says less than 10. So using this, we can determine between multiple different blocks of code. The neat thing about this is that you can continue this as much as you want. So if age is less than 100, else if age is less than 200, so on and so forth. And you can put in as many of these as you want and it will execute whatever code is indented in those spaces. So mess around with this, see what kind of if statements you can make and see what kind of programs you can make using this syntax. Okay, I hope you guys liked this. If you did, please hit like and subscribe and I'll see you next time. Thanks, see ya.